You're listening to Pitch Talks, bringing you the game.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on Pitch Talks, the podcast that gives you exclusive how-to guides to help you understand what it takes to land your dream role in sport. Today, myself and Sam will be chatting to Luke Gardner, who is currently at the beginning of his time as the TikTok producer for the UEFA, but also has a fantastic array of positions and brands in his career so far, which we'll be talking about today. So let's get to it.
This is Pitch Talks, bringing you the game.
Luke, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. How are you?
Yeah, cheers lads for having me on. It's a pleasure. But yeah, I'm really well actually. Just currently at home, actually with a bout of COVID, believe it or not. I am all okay, but I'm just currently at home under house arrest until next week. But enjoying the sunshine in my garden. So it's, this is quite a timely sort of thing for me to be doing my evenings because not really got can't really go out or anything. So it's brilliant.
Starting right at the beginning of your career is as good a place as any to really understand where you are today. So had you always dreamed of working in sport in some capacity?
Yeah, 100%. I think got to a certain age and you sort of look at yourself and you realise I'm not going to be good enough to ever make it pro. So what's the next best thing? And it's working in sports media, being as close to the action as possible. So yeah, probably ever since the age of like 14, maybe younger. Like obviously always had a massive passion for football as the majority of lads and girls do in this country growing up. But I'd say about 14, maybe halfway through secondary, I was proper like, yeah, this is something that I really want to get into. Like always watching Sky Sports and things like that on like Saturdays and Sundays. Like I'd love to be doing something like this. And then yeah, it wasn't really until sixth form where I started doing some like match reports. So my school actually had like a really good football team, and they played at county level. It was like a whole county cup of schools across the whole country. They got into like the last 32 or something, like out of the whole country, which is like brilliant. And I wasn't in the team, so I said to the guy who was the coach, who was actually deputy head of the sixth form. I said, I've got a bit of an interest here. He knew my interest anyway. I said, I'd like to start writing match reports and also get to travel to the games because we were playing schools across the country. And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I'd love to have you along sort of thing. So I started doing them and it just started off as, so say it'd be like a Wednesday evening, I'd write the match report, send it to him. Thursday morning, it'd be in the common room. Like they'd put it up on the wall and everyone could read it and stuff. And then after a couple, I think he had a contact at the FA, and there's like the FA have like an FA full-time website which has like tables and stuff for like non-league, grassroots football and Sunday league and school leagues. And then in the bracket of the county cup for the schools was my match reports. So being published on the FA website, which is quite cool to be honest. Like I don't know how many people actually read them, but that was an amazing start really. And that then from there I sort of knew like that's what I wanted to go on to at uni, was doing something related to sports.
Yeah, that's touched upon actually my next point about your first opportunity with the FA and writing for your county football team there. What else did this opportunity do for you in terms of broadening your horizons and kind of shaping that path that you wanted to go on to later in life?
I think it was more the fact of just actually giving it a go and realising like, I'm actually all right at this here sort of thing, like getting all the adulation off my classmates and obviously parents, which you sort of get anyway by default, but teachers that read them and I'll be in like my business class 2 days later and look, I've read your match report in the common room, it was really good, like my teacher saying it. And that just really then sort of sparked my motivation to be like, no, this isn't, I've got a shot at this here. And yeah, so just from writing them small match reports, I just thought, well, what's the next step now? Like, what can I go on to do even more? And it I wouldn't say necessarily broadened my horizon, but it definitely got the gears going, got the cogs turning for my path further on.
So on that next step then, obviously you went to university, and during your time, you took on a lot of work experience placements. So from the video journalist at Knots TV, media assistant at Talk Sport, and then the presenter and broadcaster for Fly FM. From your perspective, how important was it that whilst you were at uni, you went out to go and find experience to support the education?
Massive, I'd say, absolutely massive. Like that, and we'll probably touch on this later, but I just think it's so imperative of, yes, you can come away with a first degree or a 2-1 or a brilliant degree, but if you've not got the experience to go with it, like, it means nothing. Like, I don't think it means anything to employers, and employers I've spoke to throughout my couple of years in the industry, I've said the same thing. Like, I just thought, I want to show my willing here. I can't go out and get these jobs because I'm at uni. So what's the next best thing? It's doing the internship. It's doing the student radio and the local TV with Notts TV, and the student radios with Fly FM, and then later on Talk Sport as well. It's so important, honestly, lads, and like for anyone listening out there, like, just a couple of them were like, Talk Sport was only 2 weeks for me, but it's massive. Like, Talk Sport, it's the biggest sports radio station in the country. And there's no time frame attached to that. Like, you guys wouldn't have known it's 2 weeks until I just told you. Neither employers, like, you've been at Talk Sport, doesn't know if it matters if it's a week or 6 months. You've been there, you've been in a big professional environment, alongside your degree as well. It's just priceless, I think, if you can just knock away at them doors and fire off emails and getting the right contacts. I'm willing to do this for a week. I'm really willing to learn. What have you got? And a lot of places, they do have things on.
You're listening to Pitch Talks, bringing you the game.
Now coming on to your next role as the video producer and presenter at Watford Football Club. Can you just go into a little bit more detail about what your role entailed there, and sort of what responsibilities you took on, and how it was, working for at the time a Premier League football club?
Yeah, amazing, really. I mean, it sort of all come about in a bit of a very unexpected fashion. Obviously, 3 months, I think it was 3 months after graduation, I got it, which I just think it's so, like I'm so lucky. I even say it myself, like, I'd done well at uni, I had that experience, but even then, like, Premier League club, like, it was so lucky. Like, without sounding too big-headed, I wouldn't want people to look at my path and think that has to be the path. I have to be at a big club straight away, because I'd say I'm just like an anomaly in a sense, without sounding too big-headed. But do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want people to knock themselves down and be like, oh, this guy's done this straight out of uni, we have to do that. Like, I find myself so lucky that I've got in that role. And interestingly enough, to back this, they were hiring 2 people at the time. Like, unbeknownst to me, they wanted one experience and one fresh out of uni. So they'd already had one guy in mind. And then, although they were going to go down that path, there was another candidate, because maybe it's the last 4, there's another candidate who actually had worked at PLP, which is Premier League Productions. It's massive. So because his resume was so good, they were going to change their route and just go for 2. And obviously, me just coming out of uni, a couple of experience, like, I wouldn't stand a chance against him. But funny enough, he didn't turn up to the final interview, made it through, he didn't turn up. I found all this out like 6 months later, but he didn't turn up and I got the job. So I always look back at that now, 95% chance I wouldn't have been in this role if he hadn't have turned up. And you do need that lucky break sometimes. Like I didn't know that at the time. I just tried my hardest and everything I was best at, I tried to put it into action. But you do need that slice of luck, really, and things that you don't know happens. So that's how I got the job. And then the job itself, amazing, incredible experience. Obviously a Premier League club. So I did all the video content you see on social media. There was 4 of us, actually. I was one of 4. And so it entailed filming training, press conferences, interviews. Then match days were brilliant. So it would be sort of like a pitch side camera. So like, if you ever, you'll see it on social media, like there'll be an alternative angle that clubs have put out, and there'll be like a pitch side behind the goal and stuff. Like, I was one of them people. And then at the end, I'd do an interview with the players, or pre-match and interview with the players as well, and press conference. So that was incredible. And like, you could go anywhere. Like, before COVID, access all areas. So be in the tunnel. We've done a few like tunnel cam pieces, like features for YouTube when we played Liverpool and United. I'm a United fan, so I was just in the tunnel pre-match, and it's just like Rashford there and players like that, Pogba, and I'm just stood there like, oh my god! Like, I was in uni like 6 months ago, going out every night, and now I'm standing next to like my heroes. Liverpool, same thing again. Like, Klopp was just there, Salah, Mane, sort of like not really talking, but you're sort of interacting with them, like, how are you and stuff. Like, like greetings. So that was incredible. Obviously, it was sad with the getting relegated, and obviously COVID, working in a club with COVID, that was a hell of an experience. Probably go on to that in a bit. And then the presenting role actually come about this season. So I was there October, and then done the Premier League. Obviously got relegated in July because of the extended season, and then straight into the Championship. And it wasn't till I think November last year. I'd always sort of staked an interest in presenting like that. I'd always wanted to go down reporting broadcasting route, which is why I did my degree in broadcast journalism. And yeah, I just said, I fancy a go at this. I wasn't really a presenter at the club. The guys that did presenting or interviews were sort of more traditional journalists, a bit of an older generation. And the club was wanting to do a lot more sort of youngish features and stuff. So I'd like to do presenting like Crossbar Challenge, a Super Bowl Challenge, and you just need a younger face for that. So I was like, oh, go on, I'll throw my hat in the ring. I'll do that. I think I'd done about 4 or 5 of them actually last season before I moved on, and it was just incredible, really, like getting your face out there. Again, got good feedback from like all the people that I worked with, some of the comments and my mates that watched it. So that was incredible. And then I also had the TikTok side of things as well, which sort of got me onto a new job. I took an interest in that just before lockdown, February 2020. It's just because I sort of enjoyed it in my personal time. We had a TikTok channel which someone did do, but they weren't really into TikTok at the time. It was just like we were just putting stuff on there with no real substance. So me and a girl from the marketing team, American girl, we sort of took it on together in February 2020, and then lockdown hit, which was actually a blessing in disguise for that channel because, as I'm sure you know, TikTok just blew up over lockdown, like massive. It was the biggest thing. Well, it still is massive now, but so big over lockdown. And then the channel just grew incredible growth from there. So I was doing that alongside my video producing and a bit of presenting as well. I was doing all that alongside it. And again, it's just sort of opening yourself up to different avenues. Like, yes, my role now is just based on TikTok, but I've got that video background, video production background. I've got that presenting background. So yeah, Watford was incredible, brilliant experience, really good.
I wanted to touch on it a little bit more, sort of one more question around sort of the role at Watford. And it's just more around the experiences that you had there and whether there's any sort of memories that you've got that stick out. And then sort of a second follow-on bit was, how did it change when we did go through into lockdown, and what was the biggest challenge for you in the lockdown?
So firstly, to your first question, there's quite a few highs actually. I've touched on a couple already, but I'd say the biggest high for me, quite a recent one, was actually my last day working at Watford before I moved on, was the day they got promoted, beat Millwall 1-0 and got promoted. That was my last day. Funnily enough, I'd finished on the Friday, but I said I'll help them out at the weekend. But I said that like 4 weeks before. I wasn't like thinking, oh, I want to get involved in the party. Like I'd said it at the start of my notice. I said, no, I will work that game as well, because they were quite short at the end of the season. They weren't going to replace me because there was 2 games left. So I said, no, I'll work that weekend. That's fine. And funnily enough, it worked out to be the one that they got promoted, and it was incredible. Even though there was no fans there, I'd love to know what it'd be like with fans, but the atmosphere was brilliant. I was doing a TikTok live, actually. I was on the pitch, champagne everywhere, celebrations. In the changing rooms, all the players dancing, all huddling in the middle. We then went out afterwards as well, which is incredible. I went out with the players and stuff. There was a sort of like a hideout bit in a pub. And obviously we stayed in our bubble and things, but we were in a section of a pub near Watford and with all the players, which was just incredible. Doing Sweet Caroline, like Ben Foster, Tom Cleverley and that. Just,
I hope you didn't have to pay for a drink on that night out.
No, funny enough, actually, I believe Ben Foster got the bill. We all left, and I saw him go up to the counter, and then I think one of the lads, after I'd left, that was still there, had said, no, Foster paid for the whole bill. I mean, I'm not going to disclose how much it was, but it was a hefty chunk. But that shows the sort of guy he is, really. So that was a massive high point. And then I'd say my first game as well. It was a drab 0-0 draw at home to Bournemouth. Got pouring rain, soaked wet through. But that was the moment where I was just like, wow, like I'm here. I'm so used to watching the Premier League on TV or on Soccer Saturday, and I'm there pitch side with all these Premier League players. And it was quite a nice moment pre-match. During the week, I'd made like a little video package. I went out and done something. A few players done a community project, and that got played on the big screens, like all over the tannoys and stuff. And I was just stood there at the side of the pitch about 20 minutes before kickoff, just watching up there, and it was just my work was on the screen. So like, obviously Vicar Drive's not a massive crowd, but like 20,000 in there, and that was just a goosebump moment. So I'd say them two, and then I'd be rude not to touch on the win over Liverpool as well, which was just.
You've lost my co-host now after
that. Apologies, but the win over Liverpool was just, oh my god! Like I touched on, I'd done that tunnel cam, which was amazing, being around all the players. Little did I know, 2 hours later we were going to come in 3-0 winners over what looked like to be the Invincibles at the time. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't actually filming that game. I was up in the press box editing. But I had the best view in the house because the press seats are really good. And it was just incredible. But I just couldn't, everyone at the end was just hugging one another. Like, it's just, no one could believe it. Like, what has just happened? Like, for me being a United fan, obviously, so there was the joy of beating Liverpool. But then I took that United head off and it was like, bloody hell. And at the time, it took Watford out of the relegation zone. Nigel Pearson was flying and we just thought, oh my God, great escape. Just smash Liverpool, like smashed them as well, because it could have been more. That was just amazing. These jobs are tough work and the long hours, but it's moments like some of the ones I've touched on there that just make it all justified. It's amazing.
And then we obviously just briefly touching upon the different atmospheres as well, with before COVID. And after COVID.
Yeah. So funny enough, that Liverpool game was the last home game before COVID. So it's still actually to this day is the last game at Vicarage Road with a full house. Is that 3-0 win? But yeah, COVID was obviously an interesting time for everyone. But being in the football club is sort of, I remember being in the office, I think it was like a Thursday or a Friday. I think it was about 10 days before like lockdown come in. And the Premier League, there was a few rumours. We were meant to be playing Leicester. It was a Friday. We were meant to be playing Leicester on the Saturday. There was a few rumours just circling, like, they're going to cancel the league. They're going to postpone the league. And I was like, no, they won't. Like, what are you on about? This Premier League, they're not going to stop for anything. Like, it's massive. They ain't going to stop. When does football ever stop? And Friday, there was a meeting between all the Premier League chairmen in the morning, and then news sort of fed through to us, like they're postponing the league. And I was like, don't know if I could swear on it, but I was like, oh God. And and we all just sort of look around the office like, well, what do we do now? This is our job, like football. Like we work around the match days. Like we got everything ready for Leicester. Like program was printed, like everything. And then I think it got to like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and one of the bosses was just like, "Oh, everyone go home," sort of thing. Obviously, there's nothing to prep for the weekend now. Like we've put out the statement already about postponing. Like just go, leave now. We'll regroup on Monday morning meeting. So we all just left, and I remember we went for a drink and stuff, and we were all just like, "Oh, how long is this going to be? Like 3 weeks, do you think?" And someone said to me, "I'll be like 6 months," and I was like, "Nah, no chance. What are you on about?" And anyway, so I left, and then Monday came, and we had a big call, and it was like, "Oh, how can we be creative here? What can we do? Like, we're going to have a few weeks or months without games," and everyone was having to pitch in ideas. Like, as you would have seen, all clubs have been really creative on social media. And it was just a bit of a weird time, obviously working from home, but it was almost a bit more full on because there was the lack of match days. I think a lot of the bosses and stuff were wanting to counterweigh that and just throw loads of edits on. So we're actually getting bombarded with all these different edits. Like we were doing classic highlights and Zoom calls with the players, little features, and it was just bombardment while trying to deal with this whole new change of society of being locked away, which was something in itself. And then so that was about for a month and a half, and then interestingly enough, it got announced the players were going to go back to training. There was going to be Project Restart. The players were going to be back in training. Obviously, it was all still secure, and you'd have to have like bubbles and things and testing. And so there was only, our media team had about 20-25 people in, and there was only 3 people were allowed in, and that was the head of media, the club photographer, and then 1 video person. And funny enough, at my time during Watford, I quite liked filming the training sessions. I loved getting the little social clips and stuff. And although I actually lived the furthest away because I live in Northampton, I went down and filmed a couple of sessions, and then the decision was made like only 1 can stay. So they're like, "Oh, Luke, you've been down the most, you stay." So it was quite cool actually. Everyone was still locked at home, but I was in the middle of the pandemic. Everyone was like locked down, and I was managing to go in a training ground. Obviously, I was in my bubble, I was getting tested every day, like with the players. But it was quite a cool experience because all the players usually have all their changing room and separate areas, but that was all cordoned off because the COVID rules applied to everyone. Like they didn't get any special treatment. Whatever I had to do, they had to do. But they had to get changed in the car park, which is just amazing. It was like something out of Sunday League, just seeing all these players in their Lambos and Range Rovers getting changed in the car park. And then we'd all eat together. Like there'd be an outside area where everyone had to sit on certain tables. We'd have like barbecues and stuff, which was incredible. And then it got to the point of the games were starting again. So there was then a different person that went to the games. One of the other video guys, he'd done all the games. I'd done all the training. So just kept it separate. It was just a weird time, but very interesting time. Like it allowed me to get close to the players, the coaching staff, everything, which was incredible in that sense. And the weather was brilliant as well. As we know, like last spring was amazing, but just, yeah, a really, really interesting time. Actually, it was as it was for everyone, but being at a club during that time was just bizarre.
Not many people are going to get an experience quite like that one.
You're listening to Pitch Talks.
So far, we've grasped a great understanding of your career and a journey someone can expect to go through for a budding video producer, presenters, and what the experiences they should look out for to get on top. And when I'm saying on top, and meaning no offense to some of the brands that we've just been speaking about there, I think being the TikTok producer for UEFA, I think definitely comes in as one of the top jobs in sport. Appreciating you've only been in the role for a matter of months, I think it might be only like 4 months now. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have done, what you will be doing, and where people can go to on TikTok to see some of the action that you're recreating?
Well, yeah, you're too kind. You're too kind to me with comments like that. I don't know how I could top it. No, yeah, you're away for a bit of a wild one, actually. Obviously, the start and end of April after Watford, they sort of saw what I was doing on a TikTok channel. And as I'm sure you know, watching the Euros, TikTok was a sponsor of the tournament. Their branding was everywhere. They're always on advertising boards. So they needed someone dedicated to that. And sort of got in touch with me. And then I said, I'm interested in the role. And then a couple of interviews and stuff, and then got the job. They were happy with me. They'd been searching for it for quite a bit, I believe. Couldn't find the right person, and then I stated my claim, and they're happy with me, sort of thing. And then came in at quite a crazy time because I think it was the Champions League semis were on, but it was just starting working from home because again, like the COVID was still a bit rife and stuff, and coming out of this third wave or second wave, whatever. And so came in at semi-final stage and started off with doing the TikToks for the Champions League. And then it's just TikToks from the Euro, but it was just using archive content, and then obviously the semi-final content, and then it really ramped up. The Champions League final, people always go out there, but obviously I was way too new to even get a chance to go out there. So some of my colleagues went out to it was Porto in the end, and the Europa League final. The Champions League final heated up a bit more. Like we released the Champions League anthem on our channel, trying to get a massive audience in. So I was having to work quite a bit on that with the TikTok guys. And then where it really came up a notch was the Euro. That was my main big thing, working closely with TikTok. We had certain targets we had to hit, obviously delivering them lives and how many posts and things. And that was just one experience. Like I'm still not really over it, to be honest. It's hard to sum up. So we were based in London. Because I'm Northampton based, I was in a hotel for a month, which was incredible. Because a lot of the guys had travelled across Europe to come, like a lot of workers had come from Europe. And a lot of it to start with was office based. So editing away, like liaising all the lives and stuff, which was incredible, seeing great growth. And then as the second half of the tournament came around, things sort of heated up a bit. I was a bit more out and about. So the Germany game, I went and worked at the Germany game, which was amazing. We'd done 2 TikTok lives before. We'd done one with David Seaman in person, and then We done one with Adam Smith, the Sky Sports presenter, who we sort of done like a fan journey around Wembley. So it was alive, like he was in the concourse speaking to fans, different, just get to people get a feel of it. And then I took my position up in the press box and just worked during the game, the best seats in the house. It was just amazing. That Germany game was absolutely incredible. The atmosphere was electric, and it was the first big time of fans back. And then moving on from the tour, like moving on later in the rounds, done some more lives. I went and met up with Joe Cole, which was brilliant. Done a live with him because we were pairing these legends with creators, and they were doing like a duet on TikTok. And then more stuff with Smithy at the semi and at the final. And also at the final, about 4 hours before kickoff, done live with Alan Shearer, which was amazing. Like just being there with him, Premier League legend. You just sort of like pinch yourself sometimes because you're like, oh, this is crazy. Like I always look at it like a year before the Euros, Watford were about to get relegated, and a lot of people worried for their jobs and things, and rightly so. And then 1 year later, working in the Euro final, your home country's there in your home stadium, and it's just incredible. Like it's just so incredible. So that was really the Euro experience. And then moving forward, going on to the Champions League, which is going to be incredibly exciting. It's quite tough because a lot of it's COVID pending, but I think the hopes is for me to sort of get out and about a bit more. And when we have media days with all the clubs and stuff, for me to get out there and create TikTok content with the players, which would just be amazing. Do stuff with some of the biggest names in Europe, which is incredible, and get out to games. And again, if there's more opportunities to do TikTok lives, I'll be the guy that will go out and facilitate that. Different sponsor events to capture video, which is where my video production background comes in. Like I said before, like my role is TikTok producer, but that also entails having a video background, which I got from Watford. And then also the presenting background is aspirations for down the line of me being more of a face of the channel, depending which direction it goes, which just be incredible experience and just sort of tie everything into one. But just, yeah, it's just amazing, really, and really excited for the opportunities in the Champions League next year.
I'm going to jump in on just understanding a little bit more about the process about when you say facilitating certain videos, which for them will go on TikTok. So out of any of the examples you just mentioned there, perhaps the Alan Shearer one, when you're producing some content to go on then TikTok, would you film it as you normally would with a camera? And then would you edit it on a device and then obviously change it for the dimensions to fit onto TikTok, and obviously choose certain clips and then push people to go through and watch a full video? Or how does that side of it work?
Yeah, so well, the stuff with Shearer, that was like a TikTok live, so that was just in-app anyway. But in terms of like the videos I make and edit, it's very much, obviously we have a massive library at UEFA and like portal I get all the footage from. I then edit that to fit into size, TikTok size. I always add like a trending sound to it as well. I'm always scouting out for the sounds and the different trends and seeing what can work, and let my brain do the rest. And then obviously get it approved, and then upload it to TikTok from there, really, and just hopefully watch the likes and comments fly in.
Do you have your notifications turned on your phone, or are you
no way
swamped? So actually, sorry, just then one final one for those people that want to check out some of that content. What channels or profiles can they look for on TikTok?
So the Euro accounts, Euro 2020, and then the Champions League accounts just at Champions League. I'm hopefully a lot of the listeners are already following anyway, but yeah, that's the accounts if people want to take a look.
Then sort of onto the last question, to sort of try and wrap this up in some sort of way, because this has been fantastic, and a massive thank you for you coming on, Luke. We've had a chat with you. We've sort of looked through your journey from your time before university, when you were in sixth form doing your reporting on your sixth form team in the county cup, all the way through to your current role now at TikTok. Is there any advice that you could give someone that's probably at the stage right at the start, or even at the university stage, to try and get into a role similar to any of the ones that you've had along the way, or even the current role that you've got now? yeah, what would be the advice you would give to someone, or even a previous self?
It's a great question. That really good question. I'd say literally, without sounding too philosophical, literally just nothing's impossible. Like it's really not at all. Like I would never have thought that at 23 I'd be working for UEFA when I started their match reports. Like I thought I'd maybe be in, I don't know, some sort of role in media, but never this. Like nothing is impossible. Like no door is impossible to break down. Like it really isn't. You put like a little bit of luck, which I've touched on. Just put your mind to always just back yourself. Like always believe in yourself. Like even if you think I've done this bad, well, next time it's only going to get better. Like you can only improve yourself. I think in life, you can't ever get worse. I think you can only get better, particularly at the age that we're all at, and people that are looking to break in. You're only going to get better and better. So I think always believe in yourself is just so crucial. But also in a more practical sense would be experience. Like it's so important. Getting as much experience as you can. Just fire off emails, fire off messages everywhere. Even if you think they're going to say no, like even if you think it's so outlandish and it's UEFA or Sky or whatever, FIFA or whatever, like just fire off emails, fire off. I'm really interested in doing this. I'll give you a week. Can I do something for you? I've really taken interest in this. Like, yeah, you're probably going to get 75, 80, 90% no's, but it's the little yeses that make it. Like I was at uni and managed to get TalkSport, which is amazing. But I could also say my experience at just a radio station, student radio station, which I'd done with my mates on Saturday, or the local TV station, was just as important. It's just getting as much experience as possible. That's what my first manager said to me at Watford when I said about, we had a chat about him employing me, and I said about not going for people with more experience. But he said, I saw you didn't just sit on your hands, for want of a better word, at uni. You got out there and tried different things. And yes, other people might have had more experience at bigger places, but I can see from what you're trying to do, and the attitude you have is just to try everything out and give it a go. I think it's so important. Just experience and making the right connections as well. Things like LinkedIn, so important. Like even starting off small, just posting, then you might be getting like 2 or 3 people liking your posts and only having a certain amount of connections, but you just soon build it up. Fire off messages to people. Don't be afraid to get ignored, because you're going to get ignored. Just fire off messages as best you can and just see where it goes and work hard. Be the hardest worker, I'd say.
Luke, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, learning about your roles, and you provide some great insight into producing, presenting, and just so much more. And I'm sure what you've shared today will inspire a lot more people to follow suit. So all that leaves me to say is thank you for being on the podcast, and we wish you all the best with the upcoming European campaigns.
Brilliant. Mitch and Sam, thank you so much. Honestly, I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully it helps a few people out there, or helps even you two. That'll be fantastic. And like I touched on before, it really is brilliant what you boys are doing. So keep at it.
Cheers. Really appreciate that. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, there are so many more to get stuck into. Whether you're looking into football agency, understanding sports sponsorship, or more about the commercial side, then this is the podcast that you need. If you had some feedback on today's episode, make sure to leave us your review on our Apple Podcast page, or give us a follow on any of our social channels. This has been Pitch Talks, the sports career podcast focused on helping you get into sport.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Bringing You the Game by Pitch Talks. For more information on our latest episodes, careers advice, or to even get involved as a guest, get in touch with the team at mitch@pitch-talks.com, or send us a message on any of our social platforms. Thanks for tuning in. Bringing you the game. Pitch Talks. All Pitch Talk content is copyright protected. Pitch Talks.